heard of inflation, right? And we know a lot of it's happening right now, record high amount of inflation here in the United States. Here's a quick question for you. As an entrepreneur, can business credit actually ease inflation? Well, the answer is it absolutely can. And during today's training, we're going to talk about exactly how to tap into business credit, how to build it, and how to use it to actually be able to ease the pain of what we're all going through with inflation. So by the end of this training, you're going to know everything you need to know about how to wisely get and use business credit to be able to ease inflation and basically help you keep more cash in your business. So we got a lot to cover. So let's dive in. So, right, inflation's here. We can't stop it. The Fed is raising interest rates. We have to deal with all of this. So what's happening right now is we've obviously seen record high inflation. I think last time I looked at this, it was the highest we'd seen in like over 40 years. We're actually getting into one of the highest that we've ever seen increases in inflation. What does this mean? Well, what it means our cost to buy just about everything is going up substantially. So I actually had one of my team members in a call the other day, and he said his monthly expenses increased by $600 a month. Here's the problem. If you're not making considerably more money at your job to cover this, then it's a big problem for employees, and it's an even bigger problem for entrepreneurs. Beyond that, a lot of other stuff is happening, right? A war is waging overseas. That means tariffs on things that come from other countries, which raise the cost even more on importing a lot of goods. Fuel prices are at a record high. So all of these things mean that we've got a massive increase in our monthly expenses as entrepreneurs that we've got to figure out how to deal with. And amongst all of that, the Fed is raising rates. They're not just raising rates. They're doing what's really unprecedented, what's never been done before, talking about as many as 5 or even 7 rate hikes over 2022 and 2023. So now all of a sudden, all of our expenses have increased. And on top of that, our cost to borrow money is about to get significantly higher, and we've got to deal with it. The question is how, and that's exactly what we're about to dive into today. Brilliant Davis, thanks for coming in from Unbound Solutions in Tucson, Arizona. If you don't mind, give me a shout out. Tell me hello. I always like to say hi to you and give you a shout out on the actual stream. And Anthony Curtis says, let's go. I love that. I love your energy, Anthony. It's exactly the way I am, having that same kind of passion. And Doreen, hello. Thanks for coming in. If you don't mind, chime in, tell me where you're coming in from, give me a shout out, and you'll see I'll oftentimes shout out your name and company or even pull it up on the screen. It's like free advertising. I mean, why not, right? So coping with inflation. Well, either raising prices. How do you do this? You either raise prices to deal with the cost increasing to be able to deliver services and goods. Services, not as much. If you're delivering products, it's a big problem because to produce those products, all the things that go into the production of those products is going up, right? As people's expenses climb, they want to get paid more money. The cost to buy materials and just about everything else is substantially higher. So you're typically going to have to raise prices to deal with this, which is hard for customers when customers are already dealing with increased expenses elsewhere. Okay. Or you could produce more, you could make more sales, bring in more revenue to be able to cope as well. Or you could either one of these takes time and work to do, right? I mean, to raise your prices, to be able to produce more takes a lot more time and work. It might even take months to even be able to execute that kind of plan. So how do you get the time you need? Well, a business credit portfolio is really one of the keys to get it done. Because if you have access to 10 or even hundreds of credit lines, okay, that are available for goods and services from vendors out there, well, then you save a lot of cash by buying on credit, right? And that's what it comes down to, is that whenever something unexpected happens, when inflation occurs, when the Fed raises interest rates, when COVID hits, when we hit a recession, which we probably will in the next year, then consumer confidence lowers. And what happens is this pulls people back from making decisions, and we just need to buy as much time as we possibly can. And that's one of the things that building a business credit portfolio will help you do. And it's all about basically building business credit, positioning your business to fund itself. And this is really what I like most about business credit, is that it gives your business the ability to fund itself, even if you can't get any other kind of loan. Maybe you can't get an SBA loan. Maybe you can't even qualify for cash flow financing, or you don't have any kind of collateral you can use for collateral-based financing, or maybe you don't have good personal credit, which is required with a lot of other kind of financing out there. Well, business credit you can still get. You can still get 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 individual limit accounts. And I'm going to show you today how to do it to be able to then manage the expenses of the business so you don't have to keep taking the cash flow, which is now restricted. It's going down because all your costs are going up, Now you can actually use credit, leverage credit the smart way to be able to grow your business instead of relying on using all of your cash to do so. And Sheridan, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you saying hello. Doreen from Philadelphia is in the house. Thanks for giving me a shout out. And again, tell me where you're from. I always love giving everybody a shout out. So tell me where you're coming in from. If you're getting value along the way, hit the like button as well. So what does a perfect business credit portfolio look like? Well, it's really, and I talked about this yesterday, it kind of gives you a cash flow pool. It evens out your cash flow because now instead of using money from your bank to pay expenses, you're actually using business credit to do it. You can run a lot of the business expenses that you have through net terms. And what net terms means is it means it's not a revolving credit card in the beginning where you could pay a minimum payment and then have 6 months, a year, 2 years to pay it back. When it comes to building a business credit portfolio, you're obviously starting with vendor accounts. They give you net 15, net 30. Amazon's notorious for a net 55 account. That gives you 55 days to pay Amazon back. So let's think about this for a second. If I'm able to leverage credit to be able to buy the stuff that I need, and let's be honest, most of the stuff that we need to buy, we buy from Amazon, right? It's why I get daily packages from Amazon delivered to my place. I'm sure a lot of you may do the same. So if I can buy stuff from Amazon that I could use now to grow the business, grow the revenue, and not have to pay it back for 2 months, then that helps me a lot because I can keep my cash flow in the bank account. I keep my cash in the bank account, leverage credit to get what I need, then deploy whatever I'm using that credit for. Then that's making me money. Then I use the money that's coming in to be able to actually pay off the actual credit. And again, I talked about this yesterday. It's how all the biggest publicly owned and privately owned companies work. I could pull up Apple and show you their debt and their how much cash they have on hand and their debt, and you'll see that they have billions, 100, 200 billion dollars nearly of debt, but they have more than that in cash. Now, a Dave Ramsey guy would say, well, pay off the debt, but they're leveraging other people's money and keeping the cash on hand to use for acquisitions, to use for research and development. They're using it to be able to expand and grow. And this is how all these companies get to be as big as they are. Walmart's the best example because Walmart's leveraged business credit from day one. If you ever read Sam Walton's book, it's really good. He'll talk about the beginning stages, how he's sitting at somebody's desk trying to buy stuff from them to sell in his store. And they go in the back office and he's saying, I even know they're going in the back office to run my Dun & Bradstreet credit profile. So Sam started Walmart using business credit. And today, 80% of what Walmart buys, they use building by business credit. Why did they do this when they sit on so much cash? Because they're using cash for things that they need to grow. They're using it to build new locations. And this is why they keep growing, right? So if we think about this from a small business perspective, you can take money out of your bank account and your debit card and use it to pay for things like a new computer, okay? So let's say, for example, I want to grow. Real case scenario here at Credit Suite. We're massive growth mode right now. So we're hiring a lot of salespeople. Well, since we're virtual, we supply our salespeople, every one of them with a Credit Suite laptop. So there's a cost for that, right? The actual MacBook that we give them could be upwards of $2,000. So if I hire 3 sales guys, it costs me $6,000 for their computers. Here's the problem. Those guys aren't going to make that money back for at least 30 or 60 days. So if I spend my $6,000, then I don't even get a return on that money for 2 months. So now that means I have less money to spend on other things. Now, let's say I wisely use business credit to do that, as we do. So now we're coming in and using our Apple corporate credit card to buy those computers. Here, Apple corporate credit card, we want to go ahead and buy these 3 computers, and we don't have to pay that money back for months. So now all of a sudden, instead of taking $6,000 out of our bank account, we take $6,000 from our Apple corporate credit card. We come in, we buy the computers using that. We don't have to pay them back for months. And guess what happens in 60 days? Those salespeople are producing more than the $6,000 it cost in computers. So what happens is we can continue to hire more and more and more salespeople with no out-of-pocket expense to us because we're leveraging credit to buy the stuff those guys need and girls need to be able to get launched. And so now what happens is by the time they start getting a return, we get a return on our investment. Now we use it to pay off the credit. And what this allows us to do is to keep money in the bank for other things. We're looking at acquiring an SEO company. We're looking at acquiring a financial processing company, a finance processing company, where actually it lets us make it easier to have our customers pay on terms. So if we have more money in the bank, we can use it for bigger acquisitions. We've got a lot going on into research and development. We're developing brand new technology that by the end of the year will give you a fundability score that uses the same credit reports that lenders secretly use behind the scene and tells you how likely you are to get a loan, and then helps you improve things that you're weak on to be able to increase your likelihood of getting a loan. The reason we have money for R&D, for product development, for expansion, for acquisition is that we put the money in the bank and keep it there for that stuff. And then we wisely use business credit to buy computers and supplies and all the other stuff, get a rate of return on what we're buying those supplies for. And then that constantly keeps flowing, right? We put the money out to bring in salesmen. In this example, they produce, their sales pay for the credit that we actually use to bring them in the door. This is how all the biggest publicly and privately owned companies work. And it's exactly what you should be doing as well to leverage credit to be able to grow your business faster as well. Now, it all starts with vendor accounts. Actually, it starts with what are called starter vendors. And starter vendors, well, let's talk about vendors in general. What does vendor mean? A vendor is basically somebody that gives you credit to buy the products and services in their location. So I'll give you some common examples of vendors: Amazon, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Staples, Office Depot, Home Depot, Lowe's, Nordstrom, Macy's. They're retailers. I oftentimes call this retail credit because if you think about retailers that sell stuff, they're the ones that issue you credit cards to buy stuff in their stores. So if I get a JCPenney credit card or a Sears credit card, then that means I could buy stuff in Sears or JCPenney. And both of them have corporate credit cards to do just that. So this means I can get credit at Apple and HP and Dell for computers, and Office Depot and Staples for office supply, and Quill for office supply. And I can get BP, Chevron, Sunoco, those kind of things for fuel, for vehicle repair, for maintenance. Those are vendors. So when we talk about vendors, we're talking about the places you go to buy stuff now anyways. A lot of them I mentioned are obviously very well known. Okay, but there's also local vendors that might not be well known that also will do exactly the same thing. So in my hometown, Elwood, Indiana, 9,000 person population, there's a really big hardware store, like a lumber store. And that store issues credit to people in the town. Now, you don't know who they are. I don't even know their name, right? Because they're in a small town in Elwood, Indiana. But people that work in my town in construction know that place very well. And a credit line for them could make or break their difference or business. So one of our clients, Christine, for example, had a $300,000 credit line for a roofing company in her store or in her town. Do you care? Do I care? No, we don't care about a local roofing company in her town, but to her, that's a lifesaver because she has access to 300,000 of the supplies she needs to be able to grow her business. So this is what vendor accounts are. They sell the products and services we need, and it's different. If you're a flooring contractor, then you can get credit with a flooring company. If you're an auto parts store, well, then you can get places from O'Reilly and other auto parts suppliers. The bottom is 95% of what you spend money on in a month could be basically you can get credit and get the stuff from vendors. These are the retailers that sell the stuff. And by getting credit with them, then you're able to actually come in and get the money you need to grow your business. And by the way, you can get this even when you can't get any other kind of financing as well. So some things to think about there. And I'm going to give some shout outs to everybody coming in saying hi. So don't get mine. Always like to hear where you're from. Give me a shout out and say hello. Chuck A, good morning from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I love Hershey. I love your chocolate there. And Teresita, thank you very much for coming in and saying good day. Nashville, Tennessee is right here in the house. Brilliant Davis is chiming in. I got a $7,500 line of credit from Amazon just for having my fundability in line. Thanks to the Business Finance Suite. Thanks, man. I appreciate that shout out as well. And we've got Crypto Kid. What up, Ty? I love your name, Crypto Kid. You rock out of Silicon Valley. Thanks for tuning in. So as Brilliant Davis has said here, hey, just because my business was set up where it was fundable, and we call this fundability, we're not going to cover it today, but we do a lot of training where we do cover this, then he's able to come and get a $7,500 credit line in Amazon. So what does that mean for your business if you have a $7,500 credit line that you can use on Amazon? It means you can buy a lot of the stuff you need to operate your business without coming out of pocket to do so. Now, in order to do this, we've got to keep in mind a couple other kind of niche vendors. One I mentioned, they're called starter vendors. And starter vendors are unique because they'll give you credit when you have none. They're the ones you use to start building business credit, and they report to the business credit reporting agencies. So some starter vendors, for example, are Phillips 76 for fuel. Uline sells all kinds of shipping supplies. Strategic Network Solutions sells networking supplies and computer type of solutions. So those are just a few of many that will give you credit when you have none, and they report that credit to the business credit reporting agency. Now, another kind of vendor are we call advanced vendors. And these are ones that don't report, but they can still help you build business credit. So some advanced vendor examples are Navy Federal Credit Union, John Deere, Apple, People Ready. They sell products and services we need to grow the business. They won't report the credit on the business credit report, so they don't help us build business credit, but we can use them as trade references, which helps us along the way. And by getting $30,000 credit line at John Deere, that could make or break a lot of companies. Getting $50,000 without a personal guarantee or credit check with Apple could make or break a lot of companies. So again, these advanced vendors you don't hear about a lot in the business credit building space because they don't help you build business credit, but they can still help you grow your business. Okay, now our business finance suite lists all this stuff. So if you're interested in talking and finding an easier path to being able to access all the vendors that you need, we have every one of these vendors and more. I mean, almost every retailer offers some kind of vendor credit. We've got them all in a system we call the Business Finance Suite, which maps out step-by-step how to build business credit. And we also do what you're never going to find anywhere else. We list the underwriting guidelines for every single source. So this way, you basically are only ever applying for credit you know you're going to get before you even apply. Okay, and that's important because this is why most people fail building business credit. Most people fail or take years of a process that could be done in months because basically they don't know which accounts to apply for in what order. And that's why we're so successful with what we do is we help clients go through tier by tier by tier, as you can see here, to build business credit. And then every single source, like if we go to tier 4, every one of these sources, we actually say if you're qualified or not, and we list the actual underwriting guidelines for every single source. So you basically can make sure that you can get approved before you even apply. And by the way, our clients have already done all this in step 1. All these requirements they have to have, they already did in step 1. Then as they continue through the tiers of building business credit, more and more tiers of credit like this become available. Okay, so much auto financing, fuel credit cards, retailers, a credit with almost every major retailer. There's so much types of credit available, whether it's advanced sources that don't report, whether it's sources that do report to help you build business credit. All of this credit's available to build business or to be able to build your business. So MF supply might not mean anything to you if you work in an office. But again, if you're buying supplies from a company like this, it could be all the difference. The same as floor in the car, the same as buy auto parts, right? If you're in the auto part industry, getting $100,000 credit line then for them could make or break your business. The same if you're in the flooring actual industry. So there's so many types of unique credit for unique types of industries, as well as just type of bank credit available for you as well without personal guarantees, without personal credit checks. And that's the credit card portion. So when I look at business credit, I really look at it as 3 main different components, really 4. Starter vendors, how you start building business credit. Then we move to vendor credit. And vendor credit's credited at almost every retailer and fuel station. Then we also look at auto financing. We look at Visa card, MasterCard. All of that can be obtained without a personal guarantee, without a personal credit check, even if you can't get any other kind of financing. And when you put this into your business credit portfolio, you give yourself the ability to use this kind of credit to fuel 95% of your business needs, right? I mean, most of what I need, I can buy from retailers like Amazon and Walmart on corporate credit. Then I can use my Visa, MasterCard, bank credit to even pay for ad spend on places like Google and Facebook. Now, word about personal guarantees. Do you want to give one? Do you not? Depends on if you need one. There's a lot of loans like SBA loans that you may forever, or at least for years to come, need a personal guarantee. But personal guarantees are not needed on almost any kind of credit card. Visa card, MasterCard, Amex credit card at any kind of store, retailer, vendor, gas cards, auto financing. None of that stuff needs a guarantee. If you build business credit the right way, step by step, you can get around guarantees. You can get around inquiries on your personal credit reports. You could build a credit profile that helps you get loans and credit lines. And in doing so, You're also building a business credit profile that helps you get all this money without a guarantee and credit check again for your business to basically be able to fund itself. Okay. Now, you also want to use business credit portfolio to build a cash flow buffer, right? You want to use your credit to buy what your business needs, pay it off at the end of the month or whenever you have the time to pay it off, and then protect your cash with credit. And that's ultimately what we're doing. We're protecting our cash. We're putting money on credit. We're getting a rate of return on whatever we're using that credit for. We're using it to pay off the credit. And that leaves a lot more money in our bank account, which, by the way, helps us get loans and credit lines because banks see that we're retaining a large amount of money. Okay, this is called retained earnings. When we actually file taxes, for example, the money that's left over. So lenders really like to see that you're retaining money in the business. And one of the biggest faults I see business owners make is they say, hey, I reinvest all my money back into the growth of the business. That's not what people want to hear. It's really not what lenders, credit issuers, investors want to see. I just had a call with a venture capitalist today, and this is one of the questions. I said, hey, you're growing fast. That's great. But how do your margins look? Are you at 0%? Are you at break even? Are you making money? How much money are you making? Now, he's asking a loaded question because he wants me to say, yeah, we have 20, 30, 40% margins, which I'm able to. I'm like, yeah, no, we have a 20% margin that we keep. And here's approximately how much money we have set aside in the bank. This is exactly what these guys want to hear. They want to know that not only are we growing year after year, but we've got healthy profit margins and we're putting a lot of money aside. That tells them we're managing the business responsibly. It also tells lenders and credit issuers that you're managing the business responsibly as well. And it also helps you save money because it gives you more money to spend for things like buying in bulk, right? Or even using vendors to be able to buy things in bulk. So you got to keep in mind that if I'm a flooring company and I go to Floor and Decor, which I showed you earlier, if I'm able to buy $50,000 worth of materials from them versus $500, I guarantee I'm going to get a big discount. And that helps me increase margins. So if I know that I'm going to spend $50,000 over the next 2 months in supplies at Floor and Decor, then why would I only get the money for one project? I might as well as get my 15, 20% discount and buy in bulk. And then that way use credit to buy it because I don't need to spend my cash for the 50 grand. I could use my account with Floor and Decor to do so, spend the 50 grand, get my 20% discount, which by the way, raises my margins by 20% now as a result of that and helps me either make more money on the project or charge a customer less. Okay, so this actually just went down with a buddy of mine. My buddy of mine is a sales guy for a roofing company. He got a really big job worth millions of dollars that they wanted him to bid on. And the very first thing the owner did was call their supplier and say, look, if we do all 3 of these buildings at once, what kind of discount can we get? Because we're buying all the supplies in bulk. They gave him a healthy discount. They passed on the quote to the actual company and they got the bid. They got the deal. They got it because they were smart enough to buy the supplies in bulk, get a discount, put the discount over to the client, and they got a multi-million-dollar job as a result. So a lot of benefits by being able to buy what you need to buy in bulk, some things to keep in mind. And thank you for coming in, Orlando. Thanks for coming in from Chicago. I appreciate you saying hello. And Brilliant Davis is shaking a shout out to says, hey, it's really Credit Suite's really awesome. And I appreciate all the help and guidance with all the free training and paid the finance suite that helped me fast track. I appreciate that. And Brilliant Davis is one of our success stories who came in and went from free information like this to becoming a client. And you can imagine how powerful that is. And then being able to get all these results that they're able to share, including even talking about how he's able to actually get the help, get the $7,500 Amazon credit card, and a lot of results. If you're on our live streams, Brilliant Davis is one of many people that's sharing their actual success, showing the strategy works very well. Okay, but you also get to save money, right? Because sometimes when you have a credit account with the vendor, they reduce the deposit requirements on equipment. They reduce the amount of you've got to pay them on certain things. So again, the idea here is just like a credit card company wants you to use their credit card, okay, vendors want you to use and buy things in their store. And when you do so, there's all kinds of incentives that they may give you. Now, you can also use your business credit to make money, right? It opens the door to government contracts, can help if you've got overextended projects, improves the overall value of your business. I mean, there's a lot of benefits of building business credit. First of all, the enterprise value of your business is higher. Okay, if you ever watch the show The Profit, I remember an episode where Marcus Lamona said, man, the finances this guy's describing don't seem right. He went home that night, pulled the Dun & Bradstreet credit profile, came in the next day, confronted the business owner with the discrepancy of what he said and what the credit report showed, and he backed out of the deal. Guys, I am the biggest in the space of teaching people that buy businesses how to use business credit to do so. I go and show them how to get business credit reports, buy business credit reports in bulk, read the business credit reports, and use the business credit reports to make buying decisions of businesses. So if you ever have the plan of exiting your business, you want to build a business credit portfolio, because whether you know it or not, there are all these investors out there right now that are looking up businesses to buy or invest in, and they're pulling the business credit reports to make these decisions. I know, because I'm the one that helps them understand how to use those reports to do so. So a lot of benefits there, but also by building business credit, it gives you the ability to do a lot of other things, including get to projects you normally couldn't have gotten to because you couldn't afford to. Now you can put expenses on credit. You could do it. You could either come in and be able to bid on a lot of government contracts, which, especially if you're a veteran or minority, gives you a huge advantage, because a lot of these contracts are set aside for certain groups of people, which have a great opportunity of getting them if you go through the process. And again, if you know how to leverage money the best way to be able to actually know about these projects and bid on them as well. Okay, it can also help you with the unexpected, right? And that's what we've got to prepare for right now. Look, a recession's imminent. Okay, if you look and track anything to do with recessions, I can tell you that I lost everything in the 2008 mortgage crisis. So I now have a list of that I check every month of economic conditions that tells me if a recession's imminent or not. And one of the biggest indicators on this list is an inversion curve, which just took place 2 weeks ago. So what's ultimately happening is all the signs are going to green that we are nearing to a recession, okay, this year or next. And that's why you hear me talk about it so much. Because in 2008, I didn't have a heads up. I didn't have a notice. The thing came out of the blue. It hit. I was at ground zero of the industry where it all went down. And I lost everything personally and business-wise, something that took me decades to try to recover from, right? I mean, it took me at least a decade plus to even get my credit and everything back rebounded. Right now, we're in a unique place because I can tell you all signs are pointing to this. So the question is, are you prepared? Because all the statistics show that the reasons businesses fail, the number 1 and 2 reasons, all come down to the fact that the business doesn't have enough cash flow. Money, and the lack of money is what puts them under. And they don't have credit to rely on, so that's why they go out of business. It's what accounts for the vast majority of business failures. You don't want that to happen to you. We now know what's happening. We see inflation. We see record high gas prices, our cost for everything going up. We see the great resignation where it's harder than ever to get employees and keep employees. And then we have a recession coming as well, as even new strains of COVID, all these other things developing, wars overseas, record high gas prices. So you've got to prepare. I mean, there's no better time to prepare for the unexpected. And by having access to revolving credit, you can use it and reuse it as need be. So this gives you the ability to have a lot of available credit that you can use when the unexpected ultimately occurs. It's what happened with us. COVID occurs. We shut down all spending and moved all spending to credit lines and credit cards. And that gave us 2 months to just say, what's going on? What's going to happen? What's going to be the effect of this? And once we knew we were in the clear, we started using our profits and deployed a strategy, and the strategy worked to increase sales during that time. Then what happens? We use the increase in money to pay off the money that we put on revolving credit. And that's how we navigated that, as well as a lot of other business owners. So having credit to prepare for the unexpected is very important to do so. So keep in mind, but if you want the shortcut, we've got 2 programs that can help you. One that's called Core, where you actually work with our advisors and our software to go through the process. One that's kind of off-site program. We don't even list it on our website. It's like a secret program called Genesis. And Genesis is way cheaper. It's a month-to-month subscription. The difference is you're just not working with our advisors. So if you're already kind of part way into the business credit building program, this could be actually work well for you with Genesis, or you can work with our clients through Core to expedite it. Like I say, we typically are known for taking years off the business credit building process and condensing it to only months. You obviously want to manage this credit wisely. You will need to make sure you pay your bills on time or early. That's what your business credit scores are based on. You don't want to take debt you can't pay back. You don't want to make it risky and start moving everything to debt and putting it on credit cards or credit lines if you don't really believe that you have a probability to pay it back. And that's the key. So when I talk about COVID, we moved our money to revolving credit cards or credit lines, but we didn't just sit there, cross our fingers, and hope for the best. We also deployed a very aggressive strategy to cut expenses and to actually bring out new live streams. We started going to groups, we started going to forums, and providing education to all these additional areas. And what happened was our expenses came down, our revenues and sales increased. Then we had a plan where the extra money would help us pay off that extra credit that we took on. So you want to use money wisely. And if you're going to do this, you want to have a strategy that makes sense. Just make credit part of that actual strategy. It becomes very important. And also make sure that you keep track of revolving accounts. Keep their balances as low as you possibly can. Continue to ask for limit increases every 6 months, especially if they don't have any kind of inquiry on your personal credit report. Okay, these kind of things will give you more and more access to revolving accounts. Okay, and it'll also show lenders and credit issuers that you have higher limits that you're using and will help you expand out that business credit profile. And you don't want to ignore personal finances as well, right? So you need to make sure that you address your personal credit if you have credit issues down the road. If a recession hits and you need a loan, you need those kind of things quickly. You don't want to wait till that moment to fix personal credit. I'm a business credit guru, and I'm going to be the first to tell you personal credit's really important to getting money for your business. If anybody tells you differently, they're lying. They're lying and not telling the truth. Yes, you can get a lot of money for your business building business credit as alone. But when you use personal credit to be able to get loans, credit lines, and other kind of financing as well, then that really, really radically increases the amount of access that you have to money. So make sure that you get your personal credit in line as well. Make sure you have tax returns filed, these kind of things. So if you need to get higher level loans and credit lines, you're able to do so. Okay, so it becomes very important, which is why you want to focus on this. And make good decisions on both fronts. Look, at bad times, a business owner may be tempted maybe to borrow funds from the business or personal needs, but don't do this. I can tell you, I wiped out my personal savings to be able to pay employees as long as I could in my mortgage business, and the mortgage business failed. And I failed personally as a result of doing it. So don't rely on personal credit and get personal loans, and because it's just not the way to go. You can use business credit to be able to fund your business, especially if you start now, you're preparing for a change in the economy, and it doesn't come down to a point where it takes you down personally. From personal experience, I could tell you, it took me a decade to recover my personal credit from the damage that I did to it trying to save the business. Don't make the mistake I did. And that's why I preach about business credit now, because if I would have known the things I'm teaching you today, that never would have happened. I would have had maybe even the business fail. Maybe it wouldn't have. But personally, I would have been unaffected. But since I personally guaranteed everything, business debtors came after me personally. It was an absolute mess. It's why you want to stay away from personal guarantees when you can, and you want to fund your business using business credit accounts, not personal credit accounts. And don't forget, personal credit that's bad can affect business credit. There are scores like your FICO small business score that's used by SBA. There's a blended score from Experian, which takes into account business and personal credit. So just one more reason you want to address personal credit, and you want to make sure that you have good scores there. So what can you do? Well, again, separate consumer and commercial credit. Build business credit for your business. Consumer credit was never designed to be able to fund a business. Okay, the credit limits on that are a tenth, a hundredth of what business credit limits are. This is why you want to build business credit. It's not uncommon to get $10,000 to $20,000 limit credit cards 30 to 60 days into the business credit building process. So you don't want to use personal credit to fund the business. Build business credit and use it for that purpose. And if you do have consumer credit issues, then fix them. Pay your bills on time. Add more positive accounts to your business credit reports or personal credit reports. Dispute any negatives that are on your personal credit reports as well. Add available credit by getting approved for higher limit credit cards. Ask your credit card issuers to increase your limits. Okay, pay down credit card balances. These kind of things go a long way to helping you improve personal credit along the way. So look, inflation's here. We're not going to stop it. Okay, and it's going to continue to get worse as the cost to borrow money gets higher. As all these things change and we push closer to a recession, it's going to be more difficult than ever to be able to get the money that you need. So make sure you grab it right now so you have what you need to survive and thrive. And to help you, I want to give you something of huge value at no cost, which is a finance assessment. And we'll do 3 things for you for free. First, we'll do a fundability check. We'll look at the stuff that lenders look at to typically determine approval that most of the time get you denied. And we'll give you advice on fixing those things so your business is set up primo, where business lenders want to give you money. If you have business credit established, we'll get your credit reports for free. We're the only place on the planet that will get you Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian reports at no cost. And we'll give you tips and tactics to build business credit, whether you have it established now or not. And we'll also do a finance qualification. Look, we worked over 1,000 funding sources, and a lot of business owners think they can't get money when they can. So we'll do a financial qualification for you as well to tell you all the funding you can get now. All of that happens by simply giving us a call at 877-600-2487, emailing info@creditsuite.com, or scheduling online at creditsuite.com/consult. If you got value from this training, just hit the like button. That's all I ask. If you really got value, share this with somebody in your friend group, because that way they can see it and be prepared to be able to mitigate a recession as well. And take 1 minute. Go to creditsuite.com. At the top right of our page, like and subscribe on our channels. We have daily tips on Facebook and Twitter. We have thousands of videos on YouTube. We have 1 minute tips on Instagram and TikTok. We have a podcast you can listen to on the go. Like the guy I had today on my podcast literally mapped out how to build a customer avatar, how to run ads on Google, how to build a sales funnel, everything you'd need to actually market and scale a business. So that's the kind of stuff that we cover on our podcast. You can access all those social links at the top right of our page, creditsuite.com. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. Hopefully you got some insight on getting the money you need to be able to beat inflation and prepare for a change in the economy that will happen in the year to come. And if you got value from this, make sure you like and subscribe, and keep your eye out for our next training where we talk about more cool ways to get the money you need to start and grow your business. Take